Hey there, besties! Welcome back to our channel. Today we're going to continue the recap of the manhwa Depths of Malice. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe if you enjoy the video because it really helps our channel grow. Thanks for tuning in. Let's get started. Upon entering the building, Rita is welcomed by a nun. They sit facing each other. The nun explains that the facility was founded to house unwed mothers and other women with nowhere else to go. She mentions that Rita's sizable donation will be used to continue supporting these women. Rita listens blankly until someone interrupts, prompting her to pay attention. "Pardon, it is Rosalie Amber. May I come in?" Rosalie says from outside the room. "Come in," replies the nun. "So we finally meet, Rosalie Amber," Rita thinks as she awaits her entry. Rosalie enters the room, walking confidently, the sound of her heels echoing. She stands still, head slightly bowed, hands clasped. Rita notes that she seems quite prickly at first glance. "Lady Verta, it has been so long. We met once, 3 years ago at Duke Shade's estate, but it was so long ago that I wouldn't blame you if you didn't remember. I am delighted we have become reacquainted through volunteer work," Rosalie says with a faint smile. "A true pleasure, Lady Rosalie," Rita says, smiling. "May I ask if my initial countenance appeared distant?" Rosalie Amber asks, pausing briefly. "On frequent occasion, people mistake my expression for one of displeasure," she adds, her face calm. She's much more sensitive than she looks," Rita thinks, observing Rosalie more closely. "Ah, I see. Not to worry. I thought no such thing, Lady Rosalie," Rita reassures her. "Please, just call me Rosalie." "May I call you Verta?" Rosalie asks. "Of course," Rita replies, smiling softly. Inside the building, Rita and Rosalie walk gently as Rita explores, noticing children playing. They climb a staircase with Rosalie leading the way, their steps making a gentle noise. "Perhaps it is because I inquire about work for them or act as their nurse," Rosalie speculates. "But many residents tell me I feel like their daughter or close sister," Rosalie tells Rita as they climb the stairs. "Ah, enough of this. Girls like this irritate me to no end," Rita thinks with a brief smile. She immediately fixes her glance on something on the ground floor, pausing her walk and grinning slightly. "Lady Rosalie, do you really care so much about what others say about you?" Rita asks, leaning on the stair rail. "Pardon?" Rosalie asks, turning to face her. "What are you implying?" she inquires, confused by Rita's question. "Typically, people don't say, 'Others tell me.' They say things like 'I think' or 'my opinion on the matter is.' Don't you agree?" Rita says, smiling. "If you doubt my honesty, you can ask the residents," Rosalie Amber says, clasping her hands together. "Oh my, did it seem as if I was accusing you of dishonesty, Rosalie? You misunderstand me. I only meant to commend you for your attentiveness to others," Rita tells her, grabbing her hands and stunning Rosalie Amber. "Lady Verta," Rosalie Amber says with a smile, "I myself do not care to concern myself with others' opinions of me, you see," she says, calmly freeing her hand from Rita's grasp. "We are granted just one life. Why should we live it caring what others think of us?" Rita said, smiling cheerfully. Why is she saying these things? Does she dislike me perhaps? Rosalie wonders, feeling tense as she looks at Rita's smile. "I believe listening to others is a necessary trait, and it can bring its own rewards," Rosalie says, wobbling a bit. "Is that so? Such as?" Rita asks her, sounding skeptical. "One can only know what another wants by listening to their words carefully," Rosalie tells her. "Sometimes, one can make another person happy just by listening. Everyone likes a good listener," she adds. "Indeed," Rita agrees. "But if one is liked simply because they listen," Rita says, clenching Rosalie Amber's hand tightly, "how would one be any different from a dog?" She whispers into Rosalie's ear. Rosalie goes cold, her expression turning to one of fear. Still gripping her hand, Rita can feel her trembling. "If I push any farther, she'll surely break," Rita thinks, observing her calmly. "I have yet to meet all the residents, but it seems as though everyone likes you very much," Rita says, releasing her grip on Rosalie's arm but still holding her hand. "I hope I too can one day become a good person," Just like you, Lady Rosalie, she adds, squeezing her hand lightly. I look forward to it, Verta. Rosalie Amber says softly, her gaze fixed on the floor. As soon as I meet her fiancé, my business here is finished, Rita thinks with a grin. I wonder how she would react if her fiancé was stolen away from her. No doubt she'd cry her eyes out like an idiot, she thought with a grin. 2 weeks later, in the charity building, Rosalie Amber is with a pregnant lady, helping her try on some clothes. Margo, you don't do well in the heat, yes? Rosalie says, showing her a lightweight dress. You are an absolute angel, Miss Rosalie. You even got me summer clothing, Margo exclaims, clasping her hands together in gratitude. It's no problem, Rosalie replies with a smile. Nearby, Rita stands with her back to them, listening to the conversation. She turns to get a better look at Margo. Margo, Rita thinks, recognizing her. The one whose pimp ran away with her money when she became pregnant. But I must apologize, Miss Rosalie. I'm afraid that when I wear rough fabrics like linen during the summer, my delicate complexion breaks out in rashes, Margo says with a sigh, resting her head on her arm. My, the nerve on that one, Margo thought. Oh my, forgive me, Margo, how thoughtless of me. I had it made with linen simply on the boutique's recommendation. Forgive me. What sort of fabrics can you wear? Rosalie Amber apologizes, making Margo smile as she watches her beg. Something like what you are wearing, Margo starts to say, wearing a wide smile, but Rita suddenly steps into their midst. Rosalie, for people like Margo with weak complexions, it is usually recommended they continue wearing the clothes they have, rather than new clothes, she says, causing Rosalie Amber to smile. Is that so? Rosalie Amber asks, breathing a sigh of relief. How interesting, Margo. You say linen makes you break out, but that cheap, coarse russet seems to suit you just fine, she adds, glancing at Margo's tummy. How does she know what commoner clothes are made of? Nothing has been going right ever since this bitch showed up, Margo thinks, anger building up inside her as she looks at Rita with disdain. Look at that glower. This is going to be quite entertaining. I'll have fun crushing her under my heel, Rita thought, watching Margo calmly. Outside the building, John sat on the grass, drinking from a bottle and taking shade under a tree. He noticed Margo running towards his direction but on a different path. There she goes again. It's been nearly 2 weeks now, he thought, observing her daily routine. Those fucking bitches, Margo muttered, kicking a tree angrily. If only this were the outside world, I'd take them into the back alley and just... She kicked the tree some more. I want to slash their pretty little mugs, she said aloud, her anger palpable. What an angry woman, John thought, still observing her from behind a bush. Looking down on me just because I'm in this position, that good-for-nothing Alberhart bitch, Margo shouted, still kicking the tree. John paused his nap, watching her with more interest. Just you wait too, Rosalie. You'll be sniveling and groveling at my feet soon enough, she added angrily. A few days later at the Alberhart castle, Rita lay on her chair as 2 maids, Jana and Sonna, massaged her. You seem to be in a lovely mood today, miss, Jana said, massaging Rita's shoulder. Indeed, Rita replied. John informed me of some very interesting news, she said, enjoying the massage. She observed the second maid, Sonna, who was massaging her leg. She's even more skilled at massaging than Jana. Should I make her my other personal maid? Rita thought. No, this one's a gossip, Rita thought, observing Sonna's eyes. Miss, you have recently become close with Marquis Amber's daughter, have you not? Sonna asked calmly. Yes, we volunteer at the same facility. Why do you ask? Rita asked, replying her. Well, I saw Miss Amber in front of the jeweller's not too long ago, Sonna revealed. Oh, well, I suppose she was shopping, Rita said, pretending to be absent-minded about the gossip. No, miss, it seemed like she and her fiancé were there for a ring fitting. Perhaps it was simply a matter of differing opinions, but I witnessed them quarreling, Sonna disclosed. Is that so? Rita asked, her eyes beaming with joy. Sonna divulged more details to Rita, describing the man's anger and Miss Rosalie's flustered attempts to calm him. My, I simply don't understand it, Rita exclaimed, feigning shock as she covered her mouth with her hand. What could possibly drive a man to make such a public scene? You are loath to take a shabby wedding present from me, is that it? My reputation be damned. All you do is clean up after bar wenches, is what I heard, Sona interjected, rising from her seat, her eyes glistening with emotion. So he's an imbecile with an inferiority complex, Rita mused silently. Thank you, Sona, she said aloud, you deserve an allowance. Take the day off in the city with Jana tomorrow, she instructed, causing Sona to flinch slightly. Sona beamed with delight at Rita's command. Thank you, miss, Jana chimed in. A few days later, Rita found herself at the charity building where Rosalie Amber worked, desperately searching for her. Where in the world is Rosalie? I can't find her anywhere, she thought aloud as she wandered the halls. Eventually, she reached the study, the only place left unexplored. The study. This is the only place left, she muttered softly as she approached its entrance. Rita pushed the office door open gently, her heart beating a little faster. Stepping inside, her footsteps echoed with a slight creak on the wooden floor. She paused, her eyes falling upon a figure reclined on the sofa. Rosalie? She called out softly, moving closer until she recognized the familiar features. Prince van Brandt. Rita exclaimed in disbelief, seeing him peacefully asleep on the sofa. Has he come to check on the facility? She wondered, watching him sleep with a mixture of curiosity and surprise. Rita leaned forward, studying him intently. He has a beautiful physique, she remarked to herself, her gaze lingering on him. As Prince Brandt slept soundly, Rita noticed his hand beginning to quiver, his face contorting with discomfort as he seemed to be caught in the grips of a nightmare. Ugh, he muttered softly, turning his flushed face away. Perhaps he's having a nightmare? Rita speculated, feeling a pang of sympathy for him. She leaned in closer, reaching out gently to wake him. Prince van Brandt, please wake up, she urged softly, her voice filled with concern. Are you all right, Your Highness? Rita questioned, her voice filled with concern, but Prince van Brandt only made more noise as he tossed on the sofa, caught in the throes of his nightmare. Your Highness? Prince van Brandt, please. Wake up, Rita implored, shaking his hand gently in an attempt to rouse him. But as she called his name again, his hand suddenly shot out, grabbing her from behind and pulling her towards him, leaving Rita stunned and unable to free herself. She lay on his chest, her heart racing with surprise. As Rita struggled to comprehend the situation, she glanced towards the windows, noticing the stifling heat in the room. Prince van Brandt, if you continue to sleep here, you will overheat, she warned, still shaking him in an attempt to wake him. But Rita's concern deepened as she felt the heat emanating from his body. His temperature is much too high, she thought, her perplexed expression betraying her worry. Prince van Brandt, she exclaimed suddenly, her voice now tinged with anxiety. In an instant, the scene shifted to Prince Brandt's dream. There was blood everywhere, and the sound of a man coughing echoed through the room. Prince Brandt knelt before the king, who lay on his deathbed, a scene that sent a chill down his spine. Van, my sweet younger brother, the king muttered, his voice filled with sorrow. Brother, Prince Brandt whispered, holding his brother's hand tightly, his heart heavy with emotion. As the king began coughing violently, Prince Brandt watched helplessly, unsure of what to do. I'm so sorry, he said softly, his own grief evident in his voice, as the coughing subsided momentarily. Please, my son, please protect him, the king pleaded before his hand fell limply, signaling his passing. Doctor, call the doctor. Prince Brandt shouted urgently, his heart pounding with panic as he called for assistance. Chills ran down his spine as darkness seemed to surround him, hands emerging from the shadows and clawing their way towards him. Suddenly, a dark arm seized his head, dragging him towards a pit where more hands awaited. Desperately reaching out for help, Prince Brandt's hand found a golden rope appearing out of nowhere. With a firm grip, he held onto it tightly, feeling a surge of relief as it saved him from the fall, illuminating the darkness and dispelling the shadows. As he clung to the strange rope, Prince Brandt marveled at his miraculous rescue. What a lovely smell, he remarked, his senses heightened by the surreal experience. Back in the study, Prince Brandt slowly opened his eyes, gradually awakening from his haunting dream. Lady Verta? Prince Brandt murmured softly, his eyes focusing on her face near his. Another dream, he thought to himself, but then he realized she was still there, observing him quietly. Lady Verta, he said, his grip tightening on her head as he pulled her closer to him in a sudden movement. To visit a man's dreams so frequently is quite unreasonable, he chided gently, his tone betraying a mixture of confusion and curiosity. As Prince Brandt closed his eyes, he felt a warmth enveloping him. So warm, he thought, his mind still clouded with the remnants of his dream. You were very lucky, Your Highness, his butler interjected, offering him a cup of water. A moment longer, and you would have been experiencing symptoms of dehydration. Yes, indeed, it seems I was quite tired, Prince Brandt acknowledged, reaching out his hand to accept the cup. Yes, Your Highness. If it hadn't been for Miss Alberhart, who knows what may have happened, the butler continued, causing Prince Brandt to gasp as he suddenly remembered his encounter with Rita earlier on. Your Highness, do you not remember? The person who discovered you was Miss Alberhart, the butler reminded him. Prince Brandt went silent, his face turning red with embarrassment. So it wasn't a dream, he thought, feeling flushed with realization. Rita descended the staircase of the Charity Foundation gracefully, her eyes scanning her surroundings. She noticed Margo approaching and couldn't help but express her surprise. Oh my! Margo, is that you? She exclaimed, leaning forward to observe her, stunning Margo in the process. What a coincidence running into you here, Rita remarked, her tone warm as she greeted Margo, who responded softly, acknowledging her as Miss Verta. However, Margo quickly turned to leave, seemingly uncomfortable. Margo, you look different today, Rita remarked casually, causing Margo to pause, her expression tense. Really? Strange, I do not feel any different, Margo responded, her shyness evident as Rita's gaze fell upon her hairpin. Rita maintained her observant demeanor, noting the expensive-looking pin adorning Margo's hair. Where did a pauper like her manage to get an expensive pin like that? Rita pondered silently, recognizing it as a gift from Rosalie Amber. She couldn't help but smile mischievously, finding Margo's attempt to conceal its origins amusing. How obvious, Rita thought to herself, her smile widening as she complimented the pin. What a pretty pin. It's so elegant yet adorable, she remarked, her tone genuine. It was a gift from Miss Rosalie. She's not like the other nobles. She's like an angel, Margo said proudly, subtly stating that she didn't steal the pin, and then proceeded to praise Rosalie while indirectly criticizing other nobles. How clever, Rita thought to herself, amused by Margo's tactics. Yes, Rosalie is indeed very sweet. But, it's a shame her taste cannot keep up with her kind intentions, Rita remarked, causing Margo to freeze momentarily as she wondered about the meaning behind her words. A bright red pin on green hair, you look just like a carrot, Rita added awkwardly, mocking Margo. This damn witch, Margo thought, gritting her teeth in anger. Margo felt a surge of anger rise within her, but she suppressed it, knowing she needed to play along. Just a little more, Rita thought with a smirk, sensing she was close to getting under Margo's skin. By the way, Margo, you used to live on 43rd Street, did you not? Rita continued, shifting the conversation. I heard a woman who lives there now is getting married. Do you know Lena? She asked casually. Margo's anger flared at the mention of Lena, but she forced a smile to conceal her true feelings. Lena? That two-faced bitch is getting married? She thought angrily, but outwardly maintained her composure, pretending not to be bothered. Unfortunately, I don't think I've ever made her acquaintance, Margo replied, dodging the question about Lena. Really? I thought she was famous. Her and her husband share a love story for the ages. A man without even a decent job won Lena's hand by paying an enormous amount of money. Coins as shiny and golden as his hair, Rita said, stunning Margo even more. Wait, shining, golden hair? Margo thought angrily, her suspicions rising. Rita continued, seemingly innocently, asking about Lena's husband's name. Oh, what was her husband's name again? Rita says, smiling. It can't be, Margo thought. Oh, that's right. Paul, Rita says, stunning Margo as she froze at the spot. Margo clenched her stomach, her face visibly angry as she turned around and hastily made her way towards the door, attempting to run away from Rita. She slammed the door behind her, leaving Rita observing with a straight face. Good. Everything is going according to plan, Rita thought to herself, satisfied with the outcome of her interaction with Margo. Soon, in the kitchen, Rosalie Amber was busy packaging some baked cookies, taking great care in wrapping them. Rita entered, observing Rosalie's meticulous work. What a pretty thing, Rosalie. You took such care in wrapping it, she remarked, her tone seemingly innocent. Whoever is it for? Rita asked absent-mindedly as she watched Rosalie Amber package the cookies. Margo loves cookies, you see, Rosalie replied, wearing a beam of smile. You seem quite close with her. How long have you two known each other? Rita inquired, her curiosity piqued. It hasn't been very long. Margo came to the center about 3 months ago. Poor thing, had been sold to the red light district at such a young age, Rosalie said cheerfully. Dummy, Margo had a normal life with her family. Before hearing the pay was good and going to the red light district of her own accord, Rita thought unconvinced by Rosalie's description of Margo. She fell in love and became with child, but apparently, her lover ran off with all her money. Rosalie continued, narrating Margo's story. Poor Margo, what rotten luck she's had, Rita exclaimed sympathetically, to which Rosalie nodded in agreement. Still, she's been so strong. The immense love she has for the child growing inside her, Rosalie Amber added, wiping away some tears forming in her eyes. She told me she's never even owned a hairpin. She's willing to sacrifice so much for her child. She is nothing short of noble, she told Rita with joy. As Rosalie spoke of Margo's supposed sacrifice for her child, Rita couldn't help but feel a sense of skepticism. Sacrifice for her child? The greed is right there in her eyes. I guess Rosalie's incapable of seeing it, other than her breathing, everything that comes out of Margo's mouth seems to be a lie, Rita thought to herself with a sigh, growing increasingly doubtful of Margo's sincerity. So I gifted her one of my old hairpins, and she thanked me with tears in her eyes, just for a simple hairpin, Rosalie Amber added, sniffing her nose as tears welled up again. Suddenly, Rita remembered something urgently. Rosalie, she said, placing her hand on the table. I was walking in the garden earlier, and I saw Margo napping in a corner, sweating profusely. I'm worried she may soon be overcome by dehydration. She is with child after all, Rita remarked, perplexing Rosalie Amber. Oh my! Dehydration is extremely dangerous for expecting mothers, Rosalie exclaimed, her expression filled with worry. She seemed to be in a deep sleep, so I did not wish to disturb her, but I fear that was a grave mistake. Let us fill a jug with water and find her immediately, Rita instructed, her concern for Margo evident. Yes, Rosalie agreed, and they set out together to find Margo. Outside the building, the two ladies walked gently as they made their way towards Margo's location. Rosalie, we should walk quietly, Rita tells Rosalie Amber quietly. We don't want to startle Margo while she is sleeping and possibly induce shock, she says holding Rosalie Amber's hand as they walked, conveying both support and caution. Verta, you are such a kind person, Rosalie remarked, expressing her admiration for Rita. Really, what am I going to do with her? She's a terrible judge of character, Rita thought to herself with a surprised look, realizing Rosalie's naivety about Margo's true nature. Damn them all! Margo screamed. Rosalie Amber stood stunned, not knowing where the screams were coming from. Rita held her hand calmly. What's wrong, Verta? Rosalie asked her. Shush, Rita told her, indicating the need for her to be silent. Verta, damn that bitch to hell! Margo shouted. How dare she use that son of a bitch pole against me? Just wait, I'll make sure to crush that pretty little face into pieces, Margo said angrily. The two ladies stood watching her from a distance. Rosalie Amber turned to Rita, tears forming in her eyes as she trembled slightly. She's terrified that Margo will be punished. It's because she is so utterly blind that Rosalie gets toyed around with by lowly scammers like Margo, Rita thought. Just listen, she told Rosalie quietly, placing her finger against her lips to indicate she should stay quiet. Margo kicked the tree hard once more. She kept kicking the tree angrily, but then stopped for a moment, feeling the hairpin in her hair. Silly Rosalie. She thinks herself a saint just for giving me this pin, Margo said angrily, causing Rosalie Amber to stare in shock. A rich little heiress like her should flaunt her wealth a little more. That useless, empty-headed moron. Paul, that good-for-nothing bastard. Seeing as he's the father, no doubt the child would be a brat as well. If it's a girl, I'll sell it to the red light district. If it's a boy, perhaps I should just kill it, Margo said aloud, stunning Rita. Rosalie Amber quivered as she clenched her hands, squeezing them against her chest. Verta, let's leave, please, she said amidst sobs, tears dripping down her cheeks. Rita slipped her hand onto her shoulder, wearing a smile on her face. Nobody could be as easy to manipulate as this girl, she thought. Very well, Rosalie, Rita said aloud, I've already achieved my goal, she thought, her inner satisfaction evident as she felt fulfilled by seeing Rosalie Amber in such a state. The two ladies soon went back into the house and sat facing each other. Rita watched as Rosalie Amber cried gently, sniffing alongside. I'm so embarrassed, but this isn't the first time this has happened to me, Rosalie Amber admitted, tears streaming down her face. No matter how much I help others without expecting anything in return, I always find they only desire something from me, she said, pausing for a while as Rita observed her, sighing inwardly. I'm such a terrible judge of character, Rosalie Amber confessed amidst her tears. You're right, you are the point where it's painful to witness, Rita agreed calmly, her thoughts betraying her lack of sympathy. Have you ever had a friend who truly cares for you? She asked, attempting to steer the conversation in a different direction. Rather than participating in high society, I devoted my time to charity. But of course, maintaining relationships in that capacity is no easy task. When people's priorities differ, it's hard to understand each other, Rosalie Amber tells Rita, her palm close to her face as she sobs. So you have no friends? Rita asks Rosalie Amber with a straight face. Rosalie, you claim to help people without asking for anything in return. But I don't believe that is true, Rita tells her coldly. No, I truly ask for nothing and give with genuine intentions, Rosalie shouts back. You genuinely want to hear praise from others, don't you? Rita says, stunning Rosalie Amber. She gasps in horror, staring at Rita. You only like people who tell you sweet things. That is why you fall victim to people like Margo, Rita continues, her tone icy. Rosalie slumps into sadness, her gaze fixed on the floor. You would do anything for the right compliment. No wonder you seem like such an easy target to these people. If you fail to unlearn this, you are doomed to repeat the cycle for the rest of your days, Rita said, dropping her teacup before getting up from her seat. She began walking to the door slowly, her footsteps audible in the silence. Rosalie Amber's face remained lowered in shame. Verta, wait. I don't want to live like this anymore. Please help me, Rosalie pleaded, catching her tears as they dripped from her cheeks. Please be my friend, she shouted, clenching her fists hard. Rita paused and smiled faintly at her before leaving. A few days later at the Alberhart Manor, Rita received a newsletter from John. Miss, I've brought what you requested, John said, offering her the newsletter. Thank you, she replied with a smile. Rita reminisced about the errand she had sent John on that fateful day before going into the charity organization where Rosalie Amber worked. Good work, she said to him, recalling his service in informing her about Margo's secret. Thanks to your signal, everything has been going according to plan, Rita added softly, satisfied with John's assistance. It isn't much, but here is a bonus, Rita said, tossing John a bag of money. Thank you, miss, John replied, gratefully accepting it and leaving her with the newsletter. Rita placed the newsletter on the table and unwrapped it, reading it calmly. Paul, resident of 43rd Street, killed by a pregnant woman the day before his wedding. The culprit is believed to be his former secret mistress. The trial will be delayed until the culprit gives birth. She will be kept in protective custody until the trial. At minimum, life imprisonment expected. Life imprisonment? She should be executed right after giving birth, Rita thought, knocking the newsletter to the floor in frustration. There was a knock on the door. Miss, it is Yersha. May I come in? Yersha asked, seeking permission to enter Rita's parlor. "Enter," Rita said, ushering her in. Yersha entered the room holding a bouquet of flowers. "Flowers that suit you," she said softly as she stood in front of Rita. "Your afternoon guest today brought them as a gift." Rita flinched suddenly, her gaze snapping to the flowers. Rita remembered her encounter with Prince Van Brandt, recalling the look on his face as he held her close. "He's apologizing profusely for some mere sleep-talking," she thought. A smirk played on her lips as she held her jaw. "Prince Brandt has arrived?" she asked Yersha, sounding perplexed. "Yes, he is waiting for you in the first-floor parlor," Yersha replied. "Yes, fine. Sit, I have something to show you," Rita said, tapping on a chair and offering Yersha a seat. Yersha sat down calmly. Rita uncovered a paper placed on the table and showed her a picture of a man. Rita stares at Yersha as she observes the picture of the man. "Do you like this face?" Rita asked Yersha calmly. "It's not bad," Yersha replied. "Good. How much progress have you made on the Rosario?" she inquired. "It is made and ready," Yersha responded. "Good, let us see this through," Rita said, wearing an evil grin. "I haven't forgotten my promise to send you home," she added. Rita then went to meet Prince Brandt in the waiting parlor. They both sat down, facing each other quietly for a while. "I was completely out of line, Lady Verta," Prince Brandt said, his face looking down as he broke the silence. "That day I was severely ill. It caused me to do such a thing to a lady," he said, looking at Rita slowly as she stared at him, feeling a gentle flush. He blushed instantly under her gaze and quickly turned away, feeling shy. What's wrong with him? One mistake has got him in such a tizzy. Or, is it possible he fancies me? Nonsense. Even daydreaming has its limits. Still, it wouldn't hurt to make sure, Rita thought, a smile building on her face. "Prince Brandt, I'm grateful you came all this way. Just apologize. You are too kind. Thank you." "Forgiveness is a given," she said, smiling warmly. "There is quite a breeze today. Would you care to join me for a walk around the estate gardens?" she asked, making him look stunned. "Pardon?" he said, fixing his gaze on her. "In my current position? It would be rude of me to refuse," he thought, his gaze away from Rita. "Very well. A hospitable suggestion indeed," he tells her as they both leave the estate to go to the garden. They walk outside quietly. "I received your tulips. It is my first time receiving flowers from a man. I was very pleased," Rita says, smiling. "I'm glad you like them," Prince Brandt replies, his face turning red. "Oh my, your face is flushed. Your Highness, are you feeling unwell?" Rita asks, looking concerned as she leans forward. No, not at all. The weather is simply hot today," he tells her softly. "Heat stroke and dehydration are extremely dangerous." "May I examine you?" Rita asks, leaning closer to his face. Rita's hand brushes his face as she touches him gently. Seems he does fancy me after all, she thought inwardly. "I'm afraid I must take my leave. Thank you for agreeing to see me today." "Until next time, Lady Verta," Prince Brandt said, trying to leave as he turned away. But he was stopped by Rita as she held his shirt, their eyes locking onto one another. "Ver. Please, just call me Ver, Prince Brandt," she said with a smile, stunning him. Prince Brandt turned away from her suddenly, walking quickly away. There he goes, running off again, she thought as she watched him leave. No need to waste time thinking about it now, she thought, brushing her hair with her hand. A few days later, Rita arrived at the Amber estate. She was greeted by Rosalie Amber as she stepped out from the carriage, helped by John. Rosalie smiled happily, watching her step down. "Welcome, Ver." "I'm so happy you've come," Rosalie said excitedly, rushing to hug Rita tightly. "Not at all. Thank you for inviting me, Rose," Rita replied as they hugged. "Quick, let's go inside. It's been so long since I've invited a friend over." "I'm buzzing with excitement," Rosalie says, leading Rita by the hand inside the estate. "This is all thanks to Margo," Rita thought, smiling. Inside the estate, the ladies walked along a hallway. "If the estate is this beautiful, I cannot even imagine what our dinner will look like, Rita said excitedly. My family is looking forward to meeting you, Rosalie tells her. Rose, what is your younger sister Lily like? Rita asks her. She is not yet 10 years old, and she is unbelievably cute and lovable. She's like a young chick, Rosalie replies. Is that so? Does she resemble you or your father? Rita asks Rosalie inquisitively. She primarily takes after my mother. That's why I'm sure once she becomes a woman, she will be an absolute beauty. My mother is very beautiful, you see, Rosalie says charmingly. That beautiful mother, the older sister who competed with Proud Carter for the title of Marquis. Felicia Carter. For someone who was pushed into marriage, she seems to be living quite happily, Rita thought inwardly at the mention of Rosalie's mother. We have a family portrait we commissioned about 2 years ago. Would you like to see it? Rosalie asked. Sure, Rita replied, looking excited and smiling warmly. Here it is, Rosalie said, showing Rita her family's portrait. They both stood in front of a huge photo hung on the wall. Rita observed Felicia Carter's face closely. They're siblings, after all. In some ways, she does resemble Carter, that utter prick, Rita thought with a straight look. My mother is quite the beauty, no? When I first met her, I believed she was a princess, Rosalie said happily. Are there any portraits of her fiancé Nathan? Rita asked softly. Rose, your fiancé will also be joining us for dinner, yes? Yes, you are a dear friend to me. Hence, I would like nothing more than the two of you to meet. It's been 2 weeks since I've last seen him too, Rosalie said with a smile. It's obvious she developed a one-sided crush on Nathan and followed him around. She threw away any notion of dignity, Rita thought as she observed Rosalie. A maid walked up to them gently. Miss, dinner is ready to be served, the maid said softly, drawing their attention. Will I finally meet Nathan? Considering I've been doing charity for 3 weeks just to see his stupid face, Rita thought, sounding optimistic. Shelve, fair. Rosalie asked Rita with a smile. Let's. I look forward to meeting everyone, Rita responded, smiling as well. At the dining table, the family and Rita ate their meal quietly. The meals were sumptuous. Everything is perfect, except for one thing, Rita thought, rubbing her full tummy. That damn Nathan Hector, she thought, glancing at Rosalie. A maid came forward, whispering something to Rosalie's hearing. Anything at all? Rosalie said, asking the maid quietly. No, miss, I'm so sorry, the maid whispered back to Rosalie. How strange. He promised he would come, Rosalie Amber said, her face becoming sad. Suddenly, there was a knock on the door, interrupting the family's dinner. Please excuse the interruption, Miss Rosalie, a butler said upon entering the dining room. He came forward, dropping an envelope on the table beside Rosalie as he bowed. Rosalie opened up the envelope, reading the letter silently, her eyes scanning the words. They widened instantly as she read further. Excuse me, my apologies, she said, dashing out of the dining room in a rush. Rosalie, Rita called out, looking tense as she watched her friend leave, but Rosalie didn't reply. No matter how upset she might be, how could she just leave the friend she invited and run off like that? It's so awkward, Rita thought. It is an honor to have you visit the Amber estate, Lady Verta. I will reproach my daughter later for her rude behavior, Marquis Amber said in a tensed manner. No need, Your Excellency. I am Rosalie's friend. I should be thanking her for the incredible kindness she has shown me today, Rita said, smiling. Felicia Carter held her head in disgust. Rose will return once she regains her composure. If you'd like, shall we have a cup of tea? She said, offering private time with Rita. They do say if you lose some, you win some. To think trying to meet Nathan would allow me the chance to have a private tea time with Felicia. What a wonderful opportunity, Rita thought with a smile. I would love to. It would be an honor, Lady Amber, Rita said with a faint smile. Later, at Felicia Carter's parlor, the ladies sat facing each other, with a cup of tea placed in front of them. I cannot even recall how many years it has been since Rose last invited a friend to our estate, Felicia Carter said, sipping tea. Thank you for befriending that child, she tells Rita. Please, there is no need to thank me. Ties between friends are said to be woven by the goddess herself, Rose tells Felicia calmly. Although I am not Rose's biological mother, I have watched her grow for over 10 years now. There have been many who try to use her simply because she loves people and has a soft heart. She was hurt over and over, and yet she never seemed to tire of chasing others' affection, Felicia Carter said, her eyes keenly observing Rita. I may be quite good at reading others, but this woman is an enigma. Whether she likes or dislikes Rosalie, her stepchild, I cannot tell, she thought. Thank you for joining us on this incredible adventure. If you enjoyed what you watched, please consider liking, subscribing, and ringing that notification bell. Your comments mean the world to us and help us improve. The next episode promises even more excitement and unexpected twists, so stay tuned as we embark on this thrilling journey together. Keep the anticipation alive, and we'll catch you in the next episode.